So there's an old saying, curiosity killed the cat. And there's a lot of people into synthesizers that also like cats, so I thought I'd co-opt the phrase and say, curiosity has killed the synth YouTuber. Hi, I'm Zach Marr from Alamo Music here in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. This is our Alamo Sound Lab channel where we talk about all things music tech related. And today we're talking about the ugly hidden truth of synthesizers and YouTube. It reminds me, I had this moment where I realized Santa Claus wasn't real and it was very devastating as a child. And then I had this other moment years later where I found out, this is an odd story actually. There's this book called Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and he was a psychologist that won the Nobel Prize in economics for his studies in human psychology over decades. And one of the things he writes about in that book is that there's two selves. There's the self that remembers and the self that experiences. And they're not the same thing, and that was a very disturbing truth. And the application of that, and I'll get to the synthesizer portion of this in a second, but this is the magnitude of the same kind of magnitude of discovery for me in synthesizers, right? So with this study, they revealed that when a doctor, say you go to the dentist and you're getting a tooth pulled, the way the brain stores memory, it stores pain differently. So a procedure could take an hour and your pain level would be at a steady 7, or it could take 10 minutes, but you would go all the way up to a 12 in pain, and the brain, the total pain would be a lot worse for a person under the knife for an hour. 10 minutes isn't bad, but in the way your brain stores memory, you would actually remember the 10-minute procedure a lot more negatively than the hour-long procedure, because your brain stores memories as if it's the experience, like the qualitative parts of a memory. So like, is it painful? Was it good? It stores it by averaging the high point and the end point. So you can read more about it in this book, but the dilemma of the doctor is, do they treat the person that's going to remember it, or do they treat the person that's experiencing it? They deal with the experiencing person, but the patient is only going to remember their experience of it. So two different people, same person, it's a dilemma. So let's talk about synths and YouTube. So I've had this really odd experience on a number of our videos in prepping for them and getting to know these synths. I've really fallen in love with some of them, and even the performances on some of them, I was like, that was really nice. And then when it goes out onto YouTube, I've watched it and been like, wow, it doesn't sound as nice as I heard it in the monitors or I heard it in my headphones. Why? And I was kind of perplexed by it. And then I had this other thing happen where, and examples of that were the Jupiter 8, the Prophet 5, the Moog Memory Moog, and I had the opposite thing happen with a couple of synths that I didn't bond with monitors or headphones. And then I watched the videos afterwards and I was like, wow, that sounds really fantastic. And I don't remember it sounding like that. And so I was really kind of perplexed. And we really, in these videos, try not to do a lot of post-editing. We don't use effects. We don't do a lot of signal processing after the fact. It's just, we're trying to give you a sense of what these sound like unfiltered. So I asked around, and Don Solaris actually gave me quick feedback, and I realized that this, and I think he's right. And the thing is that YouTube has heavy compression on the videos that you publish, and it really compresses the sound quite a bit. And that's great for guitar videos or for voice, but for synthesizers, that's really terrible because the compression takes all the richness, a lot, especially in analog vintage synths, which are wildly, in the sound spectrum, not as controlled. There's a lot of extra kind of periphery sound it's part of their magic, part of like their fullness, part of the experience of them is all this kind of excess and uncontrolled chaos that contributes to the sound. And compression is going to eliminate a lot of that or control it. And so really the experience of some of these synths and then the end product in the video is not lining up one-to-one. And that's going to be true of anybody doing synth videos on YouTube. And so the synths that sound better tend to be digital synths, probably because there's not as much range there's more control on what's being put out. It's not as quite as chaotic as an analog synth. So I was really, and this is a little frustrating, and it is a little bit kind of like maybe an excuse, like, oh, well, maybe you just think it's like perception bias, but I really think it's untranslatable. So what we're doing, it's kind of futile in a sense, and so I've been wrestling with this, and I'm like, wow, why do this if it's going to be compressed? Do I need to do like lossless audio outside of YouTube? Maybe, okay. But I realized something about this in the process. Really, it's actually probably a good data point because a lot of music today is compressed. You're not, with streaming services, with all the different platforms, there's very little lossless audio. That's the norm. It might get there one day as data continues to become easier to transmit at quicker speeds, but a lot of it has been compressed, MP3s, WAV files that are, it's just, a lot of music is already compressed. And so it probably is useful to know that, hey, if you're gonna depending on what you're writing for, depending on what you're using these instruments for, this is a reality that you're going to have to encounter. So I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was kind of an elephant in the room, and it was me trying to understand the output of some of the videos, but it really applies to any videos online with synthesizers. It is giving you a sense of it, but it's giving you a distorted sense, and you should be aware of that. I should be aware of that. Still gonna make these videos. I'm really not gonna give up because of this, but it was interesting. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts. Maybe I got this wrong, but please leave your comments below. I love to hear how other people maybe have overcome this, or is this just the reality? What are the options here? So if you want to talk more, leave a comment below or come find us at alamomusic.com. You can email us, you can give us a call, whatever. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and until next time.